The Ark of Humanity by Janson Davies. Chapter 1. The Boiling Point. The oceans didn't rise. They boiled. It began with a tremor beneath the Pacific, a shiver that rippled through tectonic plates like a warning. Within weeks, magma surged through fault lines, vaporizing coastlines. Hurricanes spun like drunken gods, tearing cities from their foundations. The atmosphere thickened with sulfur and ash, choking the skies in a permanent dusk. Earth had become a crucible. Governments collapsed, borders dissolved. But in the final months, something extraordinary happened. Unity. Every surviving nation, every scrap of technology, every ounce of hope was poured into a single, impossible dream, a vessel large enough to carry humanity away from its dying cradle. They called it the Ark of Humanity. It was not a ship. It was a continent in orbit. A floating nation the size of Australia, forged from lunar alloys and asteroid harvests, powered by quantum reactors and shielded by solar sails the length of mountain ranges. It took 10 years to build and 3 months to fill. Every human being, except those who refused to leave, was given passage. Cryogenic vaults stored DNA samples of every known species. Biodiversity decks housed living specimens in artificial biomes. Insects, fungi, seeds, coral, all preserved in climate-controlled sanctuaries. The decks were divided by origin. The Chinese sector shimmered with jade and neon. The Nigerian deck pulsed with rhythm and solar farms. The Brazilian sector bloomed with vertical forests. Cultures were preserved like sacred texts, each deck a living archive. Above them all, the International Council governed, 12 members rotating leadership annually. The first captain, Amina El Sayed of Egypt, a climatologist turned commander. Her voice echoed through the Ark's intercom as the last shuttle departed Earth. "We are not abandoning our planet. We are carrying its heritage into the stars." From orbit, Earth looked serene, blue, beautiful, a lie. Then the final quake struck. The Mariana Trench split open. The oceans hissed, the sky turned black, and the Ark began its journey. Chapter 2. Exodus Protocol. The countdown began in silence. No sirens, no speeches, just the low hum of departure as the final shuttles lifted from Earth's scorched surface. Cities had become mausoleums, forests were ash, the oceans hissed like open wounds. Humanity's last act was not defiance, but departure. The Ark's docking bays glowed like cathedral vaults. Families clutched one another, eyes wide with grief and awe. Children asked if they'd ever see the sky again. Elders whispered prayers in 100 languages. The air was thick with memory. Each shuttle carried thousands. Cryogenic chambers lined the walls, preserving embryos, seeds, spores, life in its most fragile form. Biodiversity officers monitored vitals, logging genetic codes like sacred scripture. Above the chaos, Captain El Sayed stood in the command spire, watching the final shuttle ascend. Her hands trembled, not from fear, but from the weight of history. She had studied climate collapse her entire life. Now she was steering its aftermath. "Initiate Exodus Protocol," she said. The Ark's engines roared to life. Quantum thrusters unfolded like wings. The ship began its slow drift away from Earth's orbit, leaving behind a planet that had once cradled gods and monsters, empires and dreams. Inside, order was maintained through division. Each deck was assigned by country of origin, a compromise between unity and identity. The Indian deck shimmered with digital mandalas and hydroponic spice gardens. The French deck echoed with violin and vineyard. The Kenyan sector pulsed with solar rhythms and ancestral murals. Cultural preservation was paramount. Language, cuisine, ritual, each was catalogued and protected. The Ark was not just a vessel, it was a museum of humanity. But unity was fragile. The International Council, 12 members strong, governed from the central chamber. Their decisions were broadcast daily. The captaincy rotated annually, a gesture of fairness that masked growing tension. Some nations felt underrepresented. Others feared cultural dilution. Captain El Sayed addressed the council. "We are not passengers. We are stewards. This ship is not a lifeboat. It is a covenant." Her words were met with applause and silence. In the lower decks, rumors spread. Blackouts, food shortages. People began to gather to protest. AED, the Ark Enforcement Division, was dispatched. Their arrival was swift, their uniforms unmarked. They spoke no words, only orders. The Ark had left Earth, but Earth had not left the Ark. Chapter 3. Fractures in the Hull. The Ark drifted through the void, a gleaming continent of steel and memory. From a distance, it looked serene, like a miracle. Inside, it was beginning to crack. 6 months into the voyage, the Brazilian hydroponics bay suffered a catastrophic failure. Acidic mist flooded the vertical gardens, killing thousands of plant specimens and contaminating the air filtration systems. The Brazilian deck blamed the Russian engineers for faulty coolant valves. The Russian deck accused the Indian sector of sabotage. The council convened in emergency session. Voices clashed, accusations flew. Captain Amina El Sayed, in her final month of command, stood at the center of the storm. "We escaped Earth's death," she said. "Let's not recreate it here." But her words were drowned in static. The Ark Enforcement Division, AED, was deployed. Formed in the early days of the voyage, AED was designed to be impartial, invisible, and absolute. Their operatives wore no insignia. Their faces were masked. They spoke in clipped commands and moved like shadows. Within hours, the Brazilian deck was quarantined. The Russian engineers were detained. The Indian sector was placed under surveillance. AED drones patrolled the corridors, scanning for unauthorized transmissions and chemical anomalies. Captain El Sayed ordered a full diagnostic sweep. What they found was worse than sabotage. Encrypted signals had been bouncing between decks for weeks. Someone, or something, was coordinating unrest. Propaganda files were discovered in the French deck's education servers. Smuggled weapons were found in the Kenyan sector's cargo holds. A rogue faction had emerged, calling themselves Terra Ultima. Their manifesto was simple. Earth was not dead, it was wounded, and the Ark had abandoned it. They believed the planet could be reclaimed, that the Ark should return, that humanity's destiny was not among the stars, but in the soil of its birth. Captain El Sayed summoned the council. "We are not just carrying life," she said. "We are carrying grief. And grief, if left unspoken, becomes rebellion." The council authorized AED to investigate Terra Ultima. Surveillance intensified. Trust evaporated. Cultural exchanges between decks were suspended. The Ark dimmed, literally. Power was rerouted to security systems. Lights flickered. Shadows grew. In the biodomes, animals began to show signs of stress. Insects failed to reproduce. The cryogenic vaults required recalibration. The Ark was not just a ship, it was a fragile ecosystem, and it was beginning to malfunction. Captain El Sayed prepared to step down. Her final transmission echoed through the Ark. "We are the last breath of Earth. Let us not become its epitaph." And with that, the mantle passed to Captain Miguel Alvarez of Chile. The Ark continued its journey, but beneath its polished hull, something ancient stirred: fear, division, hunger, and rebellion. Chapter 4. The Whisper Network. Captain Miguel Alvarez inherited a ship on edge. The Ark's corridors buzzed with unease. AED patrols had doubled. Cultural exchanges remained suspended. The biodomes were quiet. Even the children had stopped asking when they'd reach their new home. Miguel was no stranger to tectonic pressure. Before the Exodus, he'd studied volcanoes, mapping fault lines and predicting eruptions. Now he walked among them, human fault lines ready to split. He began his term with transparency. Council archives were opened, surveillance logs were reviewed. The public learned of Terra Ultima, the rogue faction that believed Earth could be reclaimed. Their manifesto spread like wildfire, translated into every language aboard the Ark. Miguel addressed the ship. "We are not prisoners of nostalgia. We are architects of tomorrow, but we must understand the past to survive the future." His words calmed some, enraged others. AED intercepted a transmission, encrypted, bouncing between decks, masked as maintenance code. It contained coordinates, Earth's coordinates. Someone was trying to reroute the Ark. Miguel summoned AED Commander Jia Ren, a former intelligence operative from Singapore. Her report was chilling. "Terra Ultima has infiltrated 6 decks. They've weaponized fantasy. They believe Earth is healing. They want to turn the Ark around." Miguel stared at the holographic map. The Ark was halfway to Kepler 452b. Turning back would mean death. He authorized a covert operation, Operation Insulation. AED agents embedded themselves within Terra Ultima cells, posing as sympathizers. They recorded meetings, intercepted plans, traced leadership. What they found was worse than rebellion. It was faith. Terra Ultima wasn't just political, it was spiritual. They believed Earth had purged itself, that the disasters were divine correction, that humanity's exile was temporary. Their leader, known only as Mother Ash, broadcast sermons through hijacked intercoms. "The Ark is a coffin. Earth is reborn. Return and be forgiven." Miguel ordered a ship-wide lockdown. All non-essential movement was restricted. Decks were isolated. Biodome access was limited. AED drones scanned every transmission, every whisper. But whispers are resilient. In the Kenyan deck, murals began to change, depicting Earth not as a grave, but as a garden. In the French sector, children recited Mother Ash's verses during language lessons. In the Brazilian deck, engineers sabotaged navigation relays. Miguel stood before the council. "We are not just fighting sabotage, we are fighting suicidal behavior." Councillor Singh of India proposed negotiation. Councillor Okoye of Nigeria demanded arrests. The council fractured. Trust eroded. Miguel made a decision. He would meet Mother Ash. AED traced her to the biodiversity vaults, deep within the Ark's spine. She was older than expected, calm. Her eyes held fire. "You fear memory," she said, "but memory is the only thing that survives the stars." Miguel asked her one question. "Would you kill to return?" She smiled. "I would die to remember." Miguel left the vaults in silence. The Ark drifted on, but the whisper network grew louder. Chapter 5. The New Captain. Captain Miguel Alvarez stood beneath the Ark's central dome, watching the stars drift like embers. His command had begun in turbulence, sabotage, rebellion, whispers of Earth's rebirth. Now he needed to restore something rarer than order: trust. He was not a soldier. He was a volcanologist, a diplomat, a man who once mapped the veins of fire beneath the Andes. He understood pressure, he understood eruption, and he understood silence. His first act as captain was radical transparency. The council's archives were open to the public. Surveillance logs, sabotage reports, intercepted transmissions, all released. The Ark's hidden arsenal was revealed. Railguns embedded in the hull, plasma mines tucked beneath biodomes, stealth drones programmed for zero-gravity combat. Miguel's message was clear. This ship is not just a sanctuary. It is a fortress, and it belongs to all of us. The revelation stunned the decks. Some felt betrayed, others felt empowered. Terra Ultima went silent. AED patrols eased. Cultural exchanges resumed. For a moment, the Ark exhaled. Miguel walked the decks, unarmed, unguarded. He ate in communal halls, listened to music from every sector, attended rituals, birth ceremonies in the Nigerian deck, lunar prayers in the Japanese sector, memory feasts in the Brazilian biodomes. He spoke often, but briefly. We are not passengers. We are the crew. Under his leadership, the Ark began to heal. The biodiversity vaults were recalibrated, cryogenic systems stabilized, the insect colonies resumed reproduction. The children returned to their classrooms. But peace is a fragile orbit. 3 months into Miguel's term, the stars blinked. Then they moved. A fleet of alien warships emerged from the void, sleek, obsidian, silent. They bore no insignia, no lights, no sound, just presence. The Ark's sensors lit up, threat level, unknown, intent, unclear. Then came the transmission. It was not a voice, it was a pulse, translated by the Ark's quantum linguistics array into a single message. Surrender your ship, hand over your people, or be destroyed. Miguel convened the council. The room was silent. Councillor Singh urged negotiation. Councillor Okoye demanded retaliation. Councillor Nakamura proposed evacuation protocols. Miguel listened. Then he spoke. They think we are divided. Let's show them what unity looks like. AED was mobilized. Defense systems were activated. The Ark's hidden weapons, once theory, became reality. But Miguel knew weapons alone wouldn't save them. He summoned the cultural leaders of each deck, artists, priests, historians. He asked them to prepare messages, not of war, but of union. Broadcasts of Earth's final days, songs, prayers, stories. The Ark transmitted them into the void. The alien fleet paused. Miguel stood in the command spire, watching the stars. His voice echoed through the ship. We are the last breath of Earth, and we will not be silenced. The Ark waited, and the stars began to move again. Chapter 6. The Arrival. Miguel stood before the council. We are not just survivors. We are storytellers. Let them see what they're trying to erase. The aliens responded with silence. Then motion. One ship advanced slowly toward the Ark's western flank. Its hull shimmered with shifting patterns, symbols perhaps, or language. AED drones intercepted a secondary transmission. Fragmented data, referencing Earth's collapse, humanity's reckless inheritance, and the Ark's unauthorized preservation. Miguel's eyes narrowed. They think we stole our survival. He ordered a tactical scan. The alien vessels bore no life signs, no biological markers. They were either unmanned or something else, synthetic, post-organic, or beyond comprehension. AED Commander Gia Ren proposed a preemptive strike. Miguel hesitated. If we fire first, we become what they fear. But the aliens didn't wait. A beam of energy lanced from the lead ship, disabling the Ark's outer sensors. The biodiversity vaults flickered. Cryogenic chambers destabilized. AED teams scrambled to protect the genetic legacy of Earth. Miguel gave the order. Activate Leviathan. From the Ark's spine, a railgun unfolded, silent, massive, ancient. It fired once. The lead alien ship disintegrated, atomized in a burst of quantum light. The fleet recoiled. Miguel's voice echoed through the Ark. We are the last breath of Earth, and we will not be extinguished. The battle had begun. Chapter 7. The Council divides. The alien fleet hovered like a judgment. After the Leviathan railgun obliterated the lead vessel, the remaining ships reconfigured. No retreat, no retaliation. Just silence. A formation shift. A message. We are still watching. Inside the Ark, silence was a luxury no longer afforded. The Council convened an emergency session. 12 delegates, 12 agendas. The chamber, once a symbol of unity, now felt like a fault line. Councillor Singh of India urged diplomacy. We must understand their intent. We fired first. Perhaps they see us as aggressors. Councillor Okoye of Nigeria slammed her fist on the table. They disabled our sensors, targeted our vaults. That was not a handshake. It was a blade. Councillor Nakamura of Japan proposed a contingency, partial evacuation into escape pods, dispersal into deep space. If the Ark falls, humanity must scatter, seeds must be sown. Miguel Alvarez, still captain, listened. His face was calm, but his pulse betrayed him. The Ark was not just a ship, it was a story. And stories he knew could be rewritten by fear. AED Commander Jia Ren presented intercepted alien transmissions, fragmented but decipherable. References to Earth's collapse, to humanity's reckless inheritance, to the Ark's unauthorized preservation. They believe we stole survival, she said. They see the Ark as a weaponized relic. Miguel stood. He proposed a countermeasure, not just military, but symbolic. A ship-wide broadcast, every deck, every culture, a synchronized ritual of remembrance, songs, prayers, stories, a mosaic of Earth's final breath. The council hesitated, then voted. 7-5. Approved. The Ark dimmed. Lights softened, intercoms pulsed with music, chants, whispers. Children recited poems, elders sang lullabies. Biodome caretakers released bioluminescent spores into the air, mimicking fireflies. The ship became a cathedral. The alien fleet paused. Then motion. One vessel detached, approaching slowly. Its hull shimmered with symbols, shifting, ancient, unreadable. AED drones tracked its path. No weapons deployed, no signals sent. Miguel ordered a diplomatic probe, a single pod, unarmed, launched from the Ark's belly. Inside, a holographic archive of Earth's history. The pod drifted toward the alien ship. Contact. The alien vessel absorbed the pod. Seconds passed, then minutes, then a pulse. Translated message. Memory acknowledged. Purpose unclear. Surrender remains optimal. Miguel turned to the council. They don't understand us. Not yet, but they're listening. Councillor Petrov of Russia stood. Or they're stalling. Miguel narrowed his eyes. Then we stall better. The Ark remained in orbit. The alien fleet held position. The council fractured further. AED increased patrols. Terra Ultima re-emerged, claiming the aliens were divine messengers sent to punish humanity's arrogance. Miguel convened a secret meeting with AED commanders, and in the silence between stars, the Ark prepared for whatever came next. AED Commander Jia Ren deployed Phantom Protocol. Stealth drones launched from hidden bays, cloaked in electromagnetic silence. Their mission, infiltrate the alien fleet, disable command cores, and return with data. The drones moved like shadows, slipping between hull fractures and sensor blind spots. Inside the alien vessels, they found no crew, no life, just machinery, cold, calculating, ancient. One drone transmitted a pulse. The alien ship responded with a gravitational shockwave, crushing the drone mid-transmission. But the others adapted, rerouting through quantum tunnels, planting EMP seeds in the vessel's neural lattice. 3 alien ships went dark. The Ark seized the moment. Plasma mines detonated in synchronized bursts, creating a perimeter of electromagnetic chaos. Alien targeting systems failed. Their formation broke. Inside the Ark, children watched from reinforced observation decks, their faces lit by the glow of distant fire. One whispered, "Are we winning?" Miguel replied, not to the child, but to the stars, "We are remembering." Chapter 8. The First Strike. The Ark trembled, not from impact, but anticipation. The alien fleet had held position for days, their obsidian hulls absorbing light, their silence louder than any threat. The diplomatic probe had been absorbed, the cultural broadcasts acknowledged, but the message remained unchanged. Surrender the ship, hand over your people, or be destroyed. Captain Miguel Alvarez stood in the command spire, eyes fixed on the tactical display. The alien vessels had shifted again, closer, tighter, a crescent formation now curving inward like a blade. AED Commander Jia Ren approached. "They're preparing to breach. We've intercepted low-frequency pulses targeting our hull integrity." Miguel nodded. "Then we respond." He authorized Project Leviathan. From the Ark's spine, the railgun unfolded, silent, ancient, hidden since construction. It charged with quantum energy, its coils glowing like a sunrise. One shot, one target. The lead alien cruiser disintegrated. No explosion, no debris, just absence. The alien fleet recoiled. Their formation broke, but retaliation came swiftly. A beam of energy lanced from a secondary vessel, striking the Ark's outer shell. The biodiversity vaults flickered. Cryogenic chambers destabilized. ED teams scrambled to protect the genetic legacy of Earth. In the Kenyan deck, bioluminescent spores were lost. In the Brazilian biodomes, pollinators died mid-flight. Thousands of species, preserved for centuries, vanished in seconds. Miguel's voice echoed through the Ark. "We are the last breath of Earth, and we will not be extinguished." AED launched countermeasures. Plasma mines detonated in synchronized bursts, creating a perimeter of electromagnetic disruption. Stealth drones infiltrated enemy ships, disabling command cores with surgical precision. But the cost was high. Councillor Petrov of Russia accused Miguel of reckless escalation. "You've doomed us. We could have negotiated." Miguel turned to him, eyes burning. "They targeted our vaults. That was not negotiation. That was extinction." The alien fleet shifted tactics, no longer targeting command, now aiming for memory. Beams of energy pierced the Ark's midsection, striking the biodiversity vaults. Cryogenic chambers ruptured, embryos liquefied. AED squads raced through collapsing corridors, shielding genetic samples with their own bodies. In the Kenyan deck, bioluminescent spores ignited, creating a wall of light that blinded alien sensors. In the Brazilian biodomes, engineers rerouted oxygen to fuel emergency growth cycles, trying to preserve what little remained. Miguel arrived at Vault 7, where the last viable Panthera, tigress embryo, flickered in its chamber. He placed his hand on the glass. "Not this one," he said. AED operatives formed a perimeter. Alien drones breached the hull. A firefight erupted. Plasma bolts, sonic disruptors, kinetic spears. The Ark's defenders held. One AED officer fell shielding a vault labeled Apis mellifera. A child's voice crackled through the intercom. "That's the bees." Miguel whispered, "Then we fight for the flowers." The aliens retreated. The vaults held, but the cost was written in frost and silence. The alien fleet retreated, damaged, disoriented, perhaps reconsidering. The stars grew quiet again. Miguel addressed the ship. "We defended what is ours, but we must remember what we lost." Ceremonies were held across decks, songs of mourning, rituals of remembrance. Children planted symbolic seeds in hydroponic gardens. Elders recited extinct species like prayers. The Ark drifted on. But something had changed. It was no longer just a vessel. It was a battlefield and a promise. Chapter 9. The Saboteur Within. The Ark had survived its first battle. The alien fleet had retreated, damaged but not defeated. The biodiversity vaults were stabilized, plasma mines recharged, stealth drones returned with fragments of alien tech, shards that pulsed with unreadable data. But inside the Ark, the real threat remained. AED Commander Jia Ren reviewed intercepted transmissions. One signal stood out, encrypted, routed through council channels, embedded with schematics of the Ark's defense grid. It had been sent days before the alien fleet arrived. The sender, Councillor Petrov of Russia. Miguel Alvarez summoned him to the command spire. The chamber was dim, lit only by the holographic map of the Ark's systems. Petrov stood calmly, hands folded, eyes unreadable. "You transmitted our defenses," Miguel said. "You gave them our spine." Petrov didn't flinch. They deserved to know what they were facing. Miguel stepped closer. "You endangered every soul aboard this ship." Petrov's voice was quiet. "Humanity endangered Earth. We poisoned it, burned it, buried it. And now we flee like cowards, dragging our sins into the stars." Miguel's voice sharpened. "You believe Terra Ultima's myth, that Earth is healing, that exile is betrayal." Petrov nodded. "I believe in redemption." AED operatives entered. Petrov was detained without resistance. But the damage was done. The council fractured further. Delegates accused one another of complicity. Terra Ultima cells reactivated, emboldened by Petrov's martyrdom. Propaganda spread. Earth is reborn. The Ark is a prison. Miguel addressed the ship. "We are not prisoners. We are protectors. We carry the memory of a world that cannot speak for itself." He ordered a full sweep of the Ark's systems. AED uncovered sabotage in the navigation relays, encrypted rerouting protocols aimed at Earth's coordinates. The Ark had been drifting off course for weeks. Course correction was initiated, but the delay meant recalibration of life support, gravity fields, and biodome ecosystems. The Ark groaned under the strain. In the Brazilian deck, pollinators died again. In the Indian sector, artificial monsoons failed. In the Kenyan biodomes, soil acidity spiked. Species vanished. Memory faded. Miguel walked the decks, listening, mourning, learning. He visited the cryogenic chambers, placing his hand on the glass of a vault labeled Panthera tigris. Inside, a frozen embryo, a whisper of extinction. "We defend what is ours," he said, "even when it no longer breathes." The Ark drifted on, but the saboteur within had left scars, and the stars were watching. Chapter 10. The Reckoning. The Ark drifted in silence. The alien fleet had retreated, leaving behind fragments of their shattered vessels and encrypted transmissions that pulsed like ghost signals. The stars, once hostile, now watched in quiet judgment. Inside the Ark, the damage was being tallied. The biodiversity vaults had suffered irreparable losses. Thousands of species, some extinct on Earth, others genetically unique, were gone. Cryogenic chambers had failed mid-cycle. Embryos liquefied, seeds desiccated, memory erased. Miguel Alvarez walked the vault corridors alone, his footsteps echoing against glass and steel. He paused before a chamber labeled Equus Ferus Przewalski. Inside, nothing, just frost and absence. "We defended what is ours," he whispered, "but we must remember what we lost." He convened the council. Councillor Okoye demanded retaliation. "We must pursue them. Show strength." Councillor Singh urged restraint. "We survived. That is strength." Councillor Nakamura proposed a memorial. "Let the Ark remember." Miguel agreed. Across the decks, mourning ceremonies were held. In the Indian sector, lanterns were released into the biodomes, each bearing the name of a lost species. In the Kenyan deck, elders recited extinction lists like sacred liturgy. In the Brazilian sector, children planted symbolic seeds in hydroponic gardens, seeds that would never sprout but must be remembered. The Ark became a cathedral of grief. AED expanded its ranks. New operatives were trained in diplomacy, sabotage detection, and cultural sensitivity. The Council rewrote its protocols. Captaincy transitions would now include psychological evaluations, cultural immersion, and biodiversity stewardship pledges. Miguel prepared to step down. His final broadcast echoed through the ship. We are not just survivors. We are stewards. We carry the memory of a world that cannot speak for itself. Let our silence be sacred. Let our journey be just. The decks fell quiet. Children resumed their studies. Biodome engineers recalibrated ecosystems. Artists painted murals of Earth's final days. Oceans boiling, skies darkening, forests burning. Not as horror, but as history. The Ark resumed its course toward Kepler 452b. Miguel stood in the command spire one last time, watching the stars. He placed his hand on the console, then turned away. And the Ark drifted on. Chapter 11. Aftermath. The Ark drifted in silence once more. The alien fleet had vanished into the void, leaving behind only wreckage and unanswered questions. The stars resumed their quiet vigil. But inside the Ark, nothing was the same. The biodiversity vaults bore scars. The Council had been reshaped. AED expanded its reach, now not just enforcers, but guardians of memory. Terra Ultima had splintered, its myth fractured by the cost of war. Miguel Alvarez stepped down as captain. His final address was not broadcast. It was recorded, stored in the Ark's central archive, encrypted and preserved for future generations. A message not for the present, but for those who would inherit the stars. Captain Ayaka Tanaka of Japan took command. A biologist, philosopher, and ritualist, she began her term with quiet reforms. She reinstated cultural exchanges. She commissioned murals across the decks, depictions of Earth's final days, not as horror, but as history. Children resumed their studies. Biodome engineers began cloning lost species. Artificial pollinators were deployed. The Ark breathed again. And then, 1 year after the battle, a signal arrived. Not from the aliens, from Earth. Chapter 12. Seeds of Tomorrow. The signal was faint. A single word, rebirth. The Council debated its meaning. Was Earth healing? Was it bait? Was it a myth reborn? Captain Tanaka initiated a probe mission. A single vessel, uncrewed, launched toward Earth. It would take years to return. But the message had already changed everything. Across the decks, rituals emerged, memory gardens, extinction vigils. Children planted symbolic seeds in biodomes, species lost, now remembered. Songs of Earth's seasons were taught in classrooms. The Ark became not just a vessel, but a temple. And a question lingered. If Earth lives again, do we return? Captain Tanaka's answer was quiet. We do not return. We remember what we left behind, and we protect what remains. The Ark continued toward Kepler 452b. A new world, a new beginning. But Earth was no longer a grave. It was a story, and stories, if remembered, never die. Epilogue. The memory that survives. The Ark sailed on, its hull scarred but intact, its people changed but resolute. Kepler 452b shimmered ahead, a pale blue dot in the dark, distant and silent. A new world, a second chance. But the Ark was no longer just a vessel of survival. It had become something older, something sacred, a cathedral of memory. Inside the vaults, the cryogenic chambers pulsed with quiet life. Embryos of extinct species, seeds of vanished forests, echoes of Earth's breath. AED operatives now walked with reverence, not weapons. Children were taught to name what had been lost before they learned what could be rebuilt. The council no longer debated only policy. They debated meaning. Rituals emerged, captaincy transitions marked by silence and song, biodiversity ceremonies held under artificial starlight, extinction vigils where names were spoken like prayers. And Earth? The probe returned. Its data was incomplete. Radiation levels had dropped. The atmosphere was unstable, but breathable in pockets. Life signs, ambiguous. The signal rebirth had not been a lie, but it had not been a promise either. The Ark entered orbit around Kepler 452b. Landing modules deployed. Biodomes were seeded. The first steps were taken on alien soil, not with conquest, but with care. And in the Ark's central archive, a message was stored, not for the present, not for the Council, but for whoever came next. We were the last breath of Earth. We became its memory, and now we are its future. The stars watched, and the Ark endured. The end. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you.